As a project progresses, it's not uncommon for you to need to coordinate your efforts with other teams that are also working in Revit. And in such cases, what we want to do is link in their models into our models so that we can coordinate our efforts to one another. Now, the most common scenario where we'll see this is coordinating amongst different disciplines. So as the architectural team, we'd be working here in our architectural model, but it's likely that our structural engineer would have a separate model and our mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers would have a separate model. And then we would get those models and link them into our model in order to coordinate our efforts. So let's demonstrate that workflow using an MEP model that contains the ductwork up in the second floor. So the first step is to go to the Insert tab and click the Link Revit button. Here I'll select this MEP model, and there's really only one option down at the bottom in its positioning, and it defaults to origin to origin. When you're doing discipline coordination, that's the most common scenario because it's likely that each discipline within the building is going to share a common origin, and it's really a good idea for you to coordinate it so that it works out that way. However, you can see there are several other options, so it is possible to use other reference points as well if you need to. But in this case, I'm going to stick with origin to origin and simply click Open. Now, it will display this message telling me that there's this nested link called architectural model that's not going to be visible. Now, all this is saying is that when the engineer started their work, they linked in the architectural model as a background. They built all their ductwork on top of that. And then when they sent their model to us, it's going to leave behind that nested architectural link. Well, that's perfectly fine because we don't want another copy of our own work to come through here. So we can just simply click Close and dismiss that message. Now, there's a few different ways we can see what's happened. Clearly, this level 1 floor plan is not showing us the result. So let's start with the project browser. If you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, there's a Revit Links branch at the bottom of the tree structure. I'll expand that branch, and here is our MEP model. Notice that it has a small blue arrow next to it. That blue arrow simply indicates that that model is currently loaded. If it were a red X, that would indicate that it was currently unloaded and not visible. Now, that's how I can tell that the model is loaded, but I'm still not seeing any information on screen. So in order to see some information, I'd want to scroll back up on the browser and find a different branch that shows us some views that would display the information. So what about the Sections branch? Let's expand that and double-click the Section at Balcony. Now here you'll see the ductwork in this blue color up here. If I hover over it, you'll see that it says that's an RVT link. And if I click anywhere on that ductwork, you'll see all of it will select because it's all contained in the same Revit linked file. Over here on the Properties palette, it will say Linked Revit Model, and it will confirm the name. So now we can see very clearly that our MEP information is in fact loaded in. Now here's another place where we could see it, up on the ceiling plan. So if we expand ceiling plans and double click level 2, you can see that linked model shows up here as well. Now in this view, notice that it's still selected. So like anything else in Revit, if you select it in one view, it's going to select in other views as well. And if I hover over it, you'll see that message again, and you'll see this box going all the way around it, kind of showing the extent of that linked Revit model. So anytime you need to coordinate your efforts with another Revit user, the easiest thing that you can do is simply link their Revit project into your project. And then as things change, you'll be able to refresh that link.